it's Shade, and I have another video. So, we're going to be talking about two main things that are connected in this case for us. One is my personal protector, who is an introject of someone from our real life, and also alters forming from objects, which is something that we actually have happen kind of frequently. So, yeah, I'm going to start with Sid because he's the one we've referenced several times, and yeah, I'm going to start there. So, he's also an example of the second half of this. For those of you who don't know, Sid is an alter in Primal Pack, who is our best friend, I would say, their system. And I made, I want to say, a couple videos with Sid, the original. So if you want to go back and watch any of those. But I think we also talked about him some when we talked about how we met. I don't know if he was actually in that video or not, but so he is my personal protector and caretaker. He also is for my kids. And we've talked about that role some already, but I'm going to get into more of how he split instead. So we're pretty sure we split him very, very slowly, like over a period of a few years. And we didn't realize that for most of that time. So that's one part of this. We think we had been splitting him for 2 to 4 years or something at the time that we moved, and it was shortly after that he like finished splitting. So okay, we had a magical object related to him, like associated with him, that we created intentionally in our system to be kind of like a comfort object, essentially. And like it was a magical object because we have magic in our inner world. And that object, at various points after that, would seem to be like somewhat sentient, like it would make independent decisions sometimes. And like, for instance, alert me to a problem, like especially with one of my kids and things like that. So that, looking back, was a sign of this, I would say. But meeting Sid from Primal Pack in particular was the first time I, as Jade, which would have been several fusions ago, that Jade, but like before the fusions with Primal and Mama Bear, the first time that I felt that level of safe in literally my whole life. So, like, my whole childhood was just trauma. And I think there was a point where our system on some level, or like our brain on some level, decided, and like this wasn't conscious. When I phrase it like our brain decided or our system decided, I mean that like kind of subconsciously. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but I think our brain thought that I needed that more often than I could get externally, and in a way that isn't like too dependent, I guess, on someone external to our system in a way that like is kind of unfair to an external person. Like if I on some level need that constantly, if I like would benefit a lot from someone who could emotionally and otherwise be there for me literally all of the time, people outside of our system can't do that, but people in our system can. So people in our system can also help with things actively that are going on in our world, in our inner world, not just externally. So that's another big factor, I would say. But I think it also was a response to me becoming more ready to process more in general. Because I need like support with that. And as I became ready to do that, I needed like the other tools basically that I would need for that process. So yeah, I think I've had a lot of things over the past few years that were long processes that like kind of all culminated all at once. So we would do a lot of work over a long period of time and not feel like we were seeing much progress, and then suddenly see like a lot of progress all at once. So with therapy primarily, but also other like social things. And I think this is an example of that. Of our system essentially preparing for me to reach that point that I could do that level of processing inside. And then once I got there, like finishing that process all at once and finishing that split. So I can't be totally positive technically that we were splitting him that whole time, but looking back, like it would be pretty suspicious in hindsight, essentially, for that object to have like behaved that way basically without being a sign of this. So that's the overview of how we split it. And now we're gonna get into some of the less specific ways that has like mostly happened in our system before this. So we also want to clarify objects. Altars can be objects. Like you can have an altar that takes the form of an object the way that I take the form of a goddess. But that's not what we're talking about in this case. We're talking about things that started as objects and then an altar like forms around it, but in our case at least doesn't tend to take the form of the object. They tend to like have the object but be usually non-human. So we had, this says gatekeepers plural, but I would say mostly one gatekeeper who, starting many years ago, tried to store memories in objects instead of altars so that no one would have to hold those memories. And that would sometimes work, at least temporarily, for us. But if it was enough memories, or those memories were needed in some way, an altar would form around the object, around those memories, hold those memories, usually have the object, like if it was a necklace or something, maybe they wear that necklace all the time. And in our case, those are often littles and fragments. But the objects themselves wouldn't just become sentient. Like, an example would be if a stuffed animal was the object and they became an alter, they might become an alter who is that animal, but not a stuffed animal. And like the other example that I said already, if it was an accessory type thing, they might wear that accessory. When we originally planned this video, it wasn't going to be talking as directly about Sid, so I'm going to go through what else we had on here in case I missed anything. It is common for us to have objects, like magical objects in our inner world, that we program to do certain tasks, so to do certain protective things and comforting things using magic in our inner world. And that object that Sid like formed around did start that way, but did more than that over time. Oh, good point. I don't think I planned this. Our guess is that that object was essentially absorbing some memories when we were using it for comfort. And that's part of how that split continued to happen over time. We're not totally sure who split him, like if it was a specific alter. It might be that it was like several of us. If it was just one, I would guess it was Jade. But I can't be sure, so whoever it was, unless it was at the same time as a different, bigger change, which it wasn't at the same time as my most recent fusion for sure. It was before that, but whoever it was from otherwise didn't have like a sudden major change like in their identity or personality or things like that. Again, unless it was at the same time as a different, bigger thing. So that's part of why it's not totally clear to us who he split from. His memories also don't make it clear to us who he split from. He does hold some trauma memories, but not like mine or any of my kids. So I don't know. Or at least not like any of my major ones. But like, I don't think they were mine. And they might not have been like specifically anybody's before that. I don't know. Yeah, the last thing we put on here was we're still not going into more detail about this protector for now. That's not true. So I introduced him. He doesn't front much, so I don't know if he would make any content himself, but if he does, then you'll see that then. He's been pretty close for this, but it's been pretty solidly me in the front, so. Also, I meant to say this at the beginning, but we added text that says fronting and Kokon, so everyone like after Sid on the list and including him is also Kokon. So it'll hopefully clearer who's fronting and who's just co-conscious. So we'll do it that way to hopefully simplify that a bit, because the way we used to do that I think was clearer. So we're gonna do it like that. But alright, that is this video. So as always, feel free to comment if you have questions or thoughts or video ideas, etc. Also, like and subscribe if you haven't. Those both help with our content a lot, but also subscribing and turning on notifications helps to make sure you don't miss videos, especially when we're not being super consistent with when we upload. So make sure to do that if you're interested, and check out all the things below me that are in our description box down below. We have a wishlist unboxing that is public on our Patreon that we will be filming soon. So keep an eye on that. You can also join our Patreon for free and get notifications of things like that if you want to. We're working on getting back on top of gaming streams as we can, as well as filming in general. We're more on top of that so far, so glad we've had a few weeks in a row. But yeah, that's all of it, I think, so check out any of that stuff that you're interested in, and thank you for watching. Bye.